Good morning, YouTube. It is Friday, April 19th, 2024, 10:11 a.m. Central Standard Time. We are locked and loaded. The postseason is officially underway, but the playoffs officially start tomorrow. I'm just now noticing the way my hair is parted. Looks very strange, and I want to fix it, actually, because, I don't know, it's giving me, like, weird 1940s vibes that I don't like, necessarily. But, anyways, today on this show, we're going to discuss these first round series. We're going to pick them. I wanted to do this in a full video on my channel, but I just haven't had the time. I am dropping a Clippers Mavericks prediction on my full channel. And quick little housekeeping stuff. We will be live on playback.tv/slightlybiased. Pretty much every single non-Mavericks game during this postseason. So make sure you guys are a member over there if you're on YouTube watching this. We have 937 members right now. That's a really solid number on this platform. And I would love to get to 1,000. Like that just feels really, really good, to be honest with you, to be at 1,000 members over here. So I'm hoping we can get that by the end of the weekend. Just quick housekeeping. I will not be live on Playback tonight for the play-in games. Not that I don't care about them. I don't really. You know, it does kind of suck because injuries have really taken the wind out of the sails here for some of these. Ignore this. Sorry. Some wind out of the sails for this one because regardless of who wins these play-in games tonight, they're going to get steamrolled in round one. So that kind of takes some air out of it. But I also I have a friend in town that I would feel bad if I didn't see this weekend. And tonight's just the perfect night to make it happen. So, yeah, there you go. But starting tomorrow, noon, we'll be live all day watching the games. Super excited. Today, we are going to talk about these series, make my formal predictions, and, man, I'm really pumped up about this first round. I think it has the potential to be really, really good. I think a handful of series could go the wire, full 7 games. I think it wouldn't surprise me if a handful of these series, you're like, wait, what the fuck? It's 3-0? Like, wait, this team's about to get swept? That's just how it is, and some of these series are so up in the air, and I can see so many different things happening. And unfortunately, so many of these series also just come down to injuries. So many of these series just come down to, oh, well, this team would have a chance, but unfortunately, this guy's hurt or this guy's hurt. Official. Slightly biased. First round predictions. All right. We're going to get into it. We're not going to waste too much time either because we're going right. Kawhi Leonard definitely on game 1 via real Skip Bayless. Skip fucking Bayless. I'll believe it when I see it. All right. Let's just get into the 1-8 matchups immediately. Of course, as of the time we're doing this, I don't know what the 1-8 matchups are going to be, but I really doubt it matters, especially in the East, right? This is why I was rooting so hard for Miami in that playing game against Philly because I thought, you know, if Embiid was back or close to being back, that could have given us a decent series with maybe the best chance of Boston losing in round 1. Are in the Eastern Conference playoffs, period, was the Philadelphia 76ers. And unfortunately, that's no longer the case. Let's just go Boston versus Miami/Chicago. And just real quick, if I had to bet on the Miami-Chicago game tonight, obviously no Jimmy Butler. I think I would actually lean Chicago. They're also going to be without Caruso. So, I don't know, but I really struggled to see. Yeah, no Terry Rozier. I really struggle to see. Caruso's a game time decision? Okay. I really struggle to see Miami being able to generate enough offense, even to win this game against the Bulls. But even if they do, with no Jimmy Butler, generating enough offense to, I'm not even saying winning the series. I'm saying keeping a series against the Celtics even remotely interesting. And the same thing can be said with Chicago, where they're just different leagues. Basically, when it comes to this Celtics team, Chicago has been 27th in defense since the All-Star break, and now Caruso is a little bit compromised. And, you know, Miami's offense already kind of struggling, and now they're going to be without Jimmy Butler, which, you know, No Jimmy Butler on this Miami offense. They're definitely a bottom 10 offense in the league. Boston went 28-2 this season against bottom 10 offenses. So if you can't keep up with them, if you can't keep up with their offense, then you stand no chance whatsoever. I think it'd actually be disappointing if the Celtics lost the game in this series against either of these teams. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the Celtics losing more than 3 games this entire Eastern Conference run would be a little bit shocking to me. Just being honest. And I want there to be some interaction here in the chat. I want you guys to tell me what you guys feel as well. Does anyone else watch Slightly on 5 different devices? Hashtag gooning to Slightly. I think we should exterminate Zoomers. I'm kind of reaching that point. I gotta be real with you. Knicks Celtics could be interesting for sure. Yeah, the Caruso injury of Andre Drummond running full speed into him. Classic. Whichever team wins gets blown out by the Celtics. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as well. So Celtics in 4. I just don't think that this Kobe White fan club stand up and they win a troll game. You know, the way the Celtics are so dependent on threes and with their high. Why is my part so far off to the fucking side? And sorry. With their volatility from 3, yeah, there's definitely a troll game maybe mixed in here, but I'm sorry. There's just I don't see it. I don't see it. All right, the other 1-8 matchup, Thunder versus the corpse of the New Orleans Pelicans or the Sacramento Kings. Do think the Thunder win either way, but I'm going to mix up my games depending on who they play. I think the Thunder win in 5 against the Sacramento Kings. I think they win in 5 against the Sacramento Kings. I don't know. No Malik Monk hurts the Kings, obviously. There is some Sabonis could maybe bully this team around, bully Chet around with some of his size. And the Kings did win the first 2 matchups of the season against the Thunder, but the Thunder kind of dominated the last 2 and looked just much, much, much better. But I do think that, you know, a De'Aaron Fox crazy game could work. It could get a game or something for the Kings, and a game where Sabonis has like 13 offensive rebounds or something. But I don't see them holding up over the course of a full series. Plus, Shea this season against the Kings, 38.5 points per game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. They just don't have the bodies really to throw at Shea. Keon Ellis locked up Steph Curry in the play-in and looked really good. That was awesome. But I don't think he's big enough to really throw Shea off his game. Like, you need actual legitimate size to throw Shea off his game. And that is where the Pelicans are kind of interesting. Because this season against the Pels, Shea 25, 5, and 7 with some of his worst shooting splits against the team. And that's because you do have guys like Herb Jones where you can throw this size at him. Kind of makes it a little bit difficult for him to get to his spot. You can contest that mid-range jumper a little bit more. But, of course, the problem now is you're going to be without Zion. And you have Brandon Ingram who's sulking and throwing a fit. And looks like, I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to be real and I'm going to be honest. And I don't like saying this about people I don't know. And I'm really trying to avoid talking like this about athletes because it's not fair. But that shit was pathetic. Like, I'm sorry. I have no other word to use to describe it. Like, it just was. Getting benched in the 4th quarter. I know you're coming back from an injury. But to play that poorly in a 1-game elimination game, and then not only that, but get benched and then storm out of the facility. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's just rough. I don't know. That's just rough. If they lose tonight to the Kings, God knows what happens. They're done. Like, there's a lot of teams in this postseason where an early exit or a disappointing exit means a complete and total new team next year. The Pelicans are definitely one of those teams. And I think the Pelicans, I don't know. If the Pelicans, like, upset the Thunder or something, then maybe they're like, all right, let's run it back. But so it is. I think the Pels do have some interesting, lengthier big defenders, and Herb Jones is one of the best defensive players in the league. To throw at Shea and kind of throw him off a tiny bit, and CJ McCollum over his last 7 games, 30 points per game, 52% from 3. Of course, he was not good at all in the play-in game, but he closed the season out strong. Been one of the best pull-up 3-point shooters in the entire league. So I could definitely see a game where CJ goes off. But without Zion I really struggle to see them holding up. But I do think that they would force it to 6. I do think that they would make it a 6-game series versus a 5-game. But either way, the Thunder win. I think that this has gone perfectly for them. Because I would 100% have picked the Lakers to beat them. Would 100% pick the Lakers to beat them in a playoff setting. I work with a lot of Pels fans. They didn't think it was blow up time if they lose tonight, and were offended I suggested that. Well, one thing, it's easy for us on the outside to look at like super, and I'm saying super. The Pelicans are the smallest market, I'm pretty sure. But it's hard. It's hard to look at a smaller market like that and be like, hey, you're good players, trade them. Like, fuck you. We don't get good players here. Who are the locks for the Pels to keep? The locks for the Pels to keep, I think, are Zion. I'm assuming they would keep Trey Murphy and Herb Jones. Brandon Ingram is probably as good as gone, to be honest with you. So, anyways, that's how I feel about this series, the 1/8. Thunder versus Pelicans is kind of interesting to me, but I still think the Pelicans, put up a fight but lose ultimately. All right, let's get to the 2-7 matchups, starting with the Western Conference. Nuggets versus Lakers. So a rematch of the conference finals a year ago, the most competitive sweep in NBA history. The Nuggets just owned the Lakers. They obliterated them. They swept them in the playoffs last year. They swept them in the regular season this year. It feels like they really, kind of hilariously, take legit pride in not only beating the Lakers, but beating them in hilarious fashion. And a lot of that is, you've seen the memes on Twitter, right? The playing perfect 23 seconds of defense against Jokic, and then he just throws up a shot and it goes in from 45 feet. Where does this go? Now, I think the Nuggets win this series, but will it be more competitive than it was a season ago? And look, it was competitive a season ago. It was a sweep, but it wasn't like it was blowouts and all of that. Like, the Lakers, I thought, played well. Denver in 5, feeling 6 games. Not gonna lie, I think it's Denver in 6. All right, I'm happy you guys say that. That's exactly where I went with it. Nuggets in 6. Nuggets in 6. I think the Lakers do get a couple games. Here's the thing. D'Angelo Russell in the series against the Lakers, I knew he was fucking bad, but looking at the numbers, wow. 6.3 points per game, 32% from the field, 13% from 3. Like, I knew it was bad. I did not realize it was that terrible from D'Angelo Russell. And he's been on a burner lately. He was awesome in that playing game. He was talking shit. He just feels like a completely different player. And they're 31-10 this season when he shoots over 40% from 3. So if he's hot from 3, they're a tough team. Because I don't think defensively they have what it takes. Obviously, AD is a defensive player of the year candidate, but they're 22nd in defense since the All-Star break. They've been horrible in transition defensively. I don't think defensively they have what it takes to beat the Nuggets, but they're just going to have to score a ton of points. And then hope you get to a fourth quarter scenario where, yes, we can't stop Jokic and Murray, but you know what? We have LeBron and AD. And, D'Lo just hit a corner 3. Like, they need that offense. And I think they do have it. Like, their offense has been really good this season. I think they have enough. And that's true. The Lakers do have a locked-in defensive mode where you're like, okay, they're much better defensively than their stats might show. But I think they have enough to push it to 6 games. I would be very shocked if they win the series, and they're not going to win the series. I'm gonna pull up some betting odds for these series just to see like what, because NBA playoff odds, just to see what the good people over in Las Vegas believe. Heat are favorites tonight, huh? And so are the Kings. A little bit surprised by the Heat being favorites. I got to be honest with you. They don't have Boston up yet. Lame. They should just put these two up. Nuggets, Lakers. How big of favorites are the Nuggets? Minus 310. So they're huge favorites. I mean, this is the biggest. Out of all the series we know so far, most of them are close. Like most of these are damn near coin flips, according to Vegas. But the Nuggets are huge, gigantic favorites. And they should be. But I do think that the Lakers can make this a little bit more competitive. Over under on Lakers free throw differential this series. I think it's a 6-game series. I'll go 55. 55 and a half. Over or under. 55 and a half. Over. Over easy. Maybe. They're going to need it too. They are going to need it. So anyways, I think this would be a fun series. Like, I'm just, playoff LeBron, you have to watch these games, guys. I'm telling you right now. Even if you're like, whatever, the Nuggets are going to win this series, tune in while you can. We don't know how many more of these we're going to get. This is the greatest player of all time. I said what I said. This is the greatest player of all time who's just an incredible postseason player. Let's enjoy it while he's here. All right? Let's enjoy it while he's here. LeBron is my GOAT. I grew up watching LeBron, man. I don't know what the fuck you want me to say. And here's the thing, too. I'm not even going to argue it. Jordan was better. Okay. That's fine. I grew up watching LeBron. I don't know what you want me to tell you. I was not alive. Despite what you guys might think, I was not alive to see Jordan's apex. All right. Our other 2-7 matchup has the potential to be an absolute banger. Knicks versus 76ers. Now, from when I looked earlier, this was the closest series according to Vegas. And that remains true. It's an absolute coin flip. Sixers minus 110, Knicks minus 110. Ooh, man, this is a tough one to predict through and through. The Garden is going to be rocking. These are two of the best stadiums, atmospheres in the league. Both home crowds are going to be going barnacles for these games. I'm so excited to watch this matchup. Here's the thing. What we saw in the playing game against the Heat, and credit to the Sixers for pulling that game out, credit to Nicholas Batum doing that and having just a miraculous performance, because he really did save their ass. They really didn't have business winning that game. Did what we see from Embiid in that game make you feel confident at all? The answer to that question for me is absolutely not. And I'm kind of wondering, I'm not wondering anymore, because Embiid hurt his knee the second to last game of the season, because there was time watching the Sixers when he came back where it's like, oh, fuck, Embiid actually looks really good. Embiid actually looks really good. And I did not think he looked good. Just physically in that game against the Heat. And the Knicks, kind of similarly to the Heat, who I thought threw a lot of things at Embiid, are going to throw a lot of shit. A lot of shit at Embiid. That's true. He wasn't forcing things, and he did make some huge plays down the stretch for them. That is true. But over the course of a 7-game series, when Brunson, they're going to set screens and they're going to put you in the action, and Brunson's going to be Brunson and shifty and force you to defend him. And Isaiah Hartenstein is going to play incredibly physically against you. And Thibodeau's going to throw the kitchen sink at you. I worry about how he will hold up over the course of the series. It sucks because this should be a second-round series. It should be. I think these are the second and third best teams in the East, whatever the order is. If Embiid's healthy, it's the Sixers are the second best team. Sixers in 5. So this is the first one where we've had differing of opinions in the chat. And I ultimately, so Paul, I agree with you in the sense that in that game against the Heat, Embiid did kind of, the Heat were running that zone. The Sixers really struggled to figure it out, but then they ultimately did figure it out at the end and started to get some great looks. And Embiid, when he had to in the fourth quarter, made play after play. Yeah, make B-Dot, do you mind putting a poll up of this one? But over the course of a 7-game series, you need your star to be your star. You need your star to be your star. And I question whether or not Embiid has the capability of doing it. Gotta do everything for myself, Ryan. Oh, wait, never mind. He did it. What is everyone saying? Okay, 11 votes for the Knicks, 5 for the Sixers. Okay. I am going Knicks in 6. Is my pick. Knicks in 6. Knicks in 6. Brunson's unplayable in the playoffs. Is a take that will be resurfaced once more? No way, man. Brunson was popping off in the playoffs last year. Brunson's had 2 great postseasons in a row. No way, man. The Knicks are a terrible offense without Brunson, and Nick Nurse knows how to make stars look bad. Look, if Embiid was healthy, I'm picking the Sixers in this series. If I knew I was getting a healthy Embiid over the course of a 7-game series, or healthy enough, I would easily pick the Sixers here. Just because the Knicks offensively, I don't think have enough to keep up with that. But if we're getting a hobbled Embiid, a compromised Embiid, and it's going to be like a lot of the pressure is going to be on Tyrese Maxey, that scares me. And yeah, that's true. Embiid has had something in the playoffs every year, and yeah, he hasn't been the best playoff guy. And look, up until like the last 3 minutes of that game, he was having a bad game in that game against the Heat, like by his standards at least. So I'm going Knicks here. But I think this is going to be a great series. And I'm not confident in this pick. But I can't wait for it. All right, the 3-6 matchups. We'll do this one first. Bucks versus Pacers. So crazy enough, I can't believe this shit. The Bucks are favorites in this series. Believe it or not, folks. The Bucks are favorites in this series, according to Vegas. Of course, we already know that Giannis is going to miss some time, but there's been some rumbling. There's been some rumblings, listening to like certain podcasts and stuff of people who aren't afraid to say, "Hey, I'm hearing this." That Giannis is not playing in the series. Like he's not going to play in this one. And obviously that would change everything. The Pacers kind of dominated this matchup in the regular season. Of course, it's kind of weird to even think about that because Siakam wasn't even on the team during any of their meetings. So I don't know how much you could really take away from that. The Bucks have been below 500 for half the season. That's crazy to me. Not over the last 10 games, not over the last 20 games. The last 40 games, the last 41 games, the last half of the season, the Bucks were below 500. Absolutely crazy. Now, I'm happy you brought that up, B-Dot. Because without Giannis, the Bucks have a net rating of -2. But when Dame's on the court without Giannis, they're +2.5. Now, of course, that can be a little bit wonky because, bench stuff. And I couldn't find the numbers when Giannis didn't play. But yes, Dame's stats without Giannis are pretty solid. Do we trust Dame, this current version of Dame, in a 7-game series where they need Dame to be their superstar? No, absolutely not. I would be shocked. I would be shocked. The Pacers have been around league average defensively for the past few months, which is kind of shocking. Siakam changed them in a way I think that makes them more reliable in a playoff setting. I think the way that they were playing earlier in the season with the flying up and down the court and, this fast offense, just not. It's not a recipe for winning in the postseason when you're not playing any defense and you're doing that quick gimmicky offense. Like, it's just not going to work in a playoff setting. The way that they've played recently, I think is more conductive to winning in the postseason. And look, this is a vibes thing all the way through. The Bucks vibes are at an all-time fucking low. They are old as dirt, and it shows. You watch Bucks games, and they look old. Like, you watch Lakers games, they're an old team. They don't look that old sometimes. You watch Clippers games, they look old. You watch Bucks games, they look fucking old as dirt. They can barely get up and down the court. Everything in this series points to the Pacers winning. Everything. But I do have some concerns. Siakam's won a ring, so he's been there. Miles Turner's been in playoff games. This will be Tyrese Halliburton's first postseason experience. First playoff experience. Oh, yeah, first postseason experience, right? It's tough with young teams like this. Rick Carlisle is a championship-winning head coach. Hey, Doc Rivers is a championship-winning head coach, so. People really think Brunson is better than Damian fucking Lillard? Brother. Brunson is significantly better at this stage in their careers. Wow. Our chat is overwhelmingly voting for the Bucks, actually. Really? Interesting. Zero trust in Tyrese. So that is actually concerning me. So many people are in on the Pacers. They're now the betting favorites. What if they're just trash in the playoffs? And if Halliburton doesn't look good in the postseason, they're done. Like, they're going to lose. I have written here on my notes, Pacers in 6, but now that I'm talking about it, this feels like one of those, wow, the Pacers should have won this series and they fucked up type of things. I'm actually struggling with this one. I'm struggling with this one a tiny bit. Because if the series is 1-1, let's just say Giannis actually does only miss 2 games. The series is 1-1 and Giannis is back. It's curtains. I actually think there's so much pressure on Indiana to win the first 2 games on the road. Because if it's 2-0 and you're up 2-0, then there is this scenario where it's like, hey, Giannis isn't absolutely 100%. The chances of us winning the series are slim. Like, we have to be as careful as possible with this calf injury. But if it's 1-1 and Giannis can come back, I'm going Bucks. I've changed my mind. I have changed my mind. I'm going Bucks. I'm going Bucks in 7. I know, but the playoffs are just different. The playoffs are just different. We haven't seen Tyrese Halliburton in the postseason. And watching Pacers games, if he's off, they're off. I do like that they have Siakam now who can just kind of slow the game down a little bit. And I do worry about Brook Lopez's old ass getting up and down the fucking court. Feels like a terrible Brook Lopez matchup. But my brain is just telling me Bucks. The old roster Bucks piece. Russello, the old age piece. I'm going Bucks in 7. You know what? The Russello and Bill Simmons Sunday Night podcast. Why don't they do their predictions together? I want to hear Bill Simmons, Russello, and maybe even Joe House bouncing their predictions off of each other. So the poll has flipped to the Pacers now leading. This one is actually, like, I'm not going to lie. When I was doing my notes, I was like, all right, the Pacers are winning this series. And then I'm talking about it. I'm like, ugh. All right, next series here. Oh, this one is fucking incredible. I love the NBA. Timberwolves and Suns. Wow. Good job there. Is this not a nightmare? Like, think about this from the Timberwolves perspective and Timberwolves fans' perspective. One of your best regular seasons of all time. You spend almost the entire year in first place in the Western Conference. Last 2 months, you're in a dogfight. End up being the 3 seed. It's still a great season. Only to go up against what is possibly the worst possible matchup for you in round 1. The worst possible matchup you can have in round 1. Did I miss the Trae Young to the Mavs discussion? What Trae Young to the Mavs? What is that? The Lakers are favorites to land Trae Young. Oh, the Mavericks are third at plus 700. These are always stupid and wrong. So the Suns are betting favorites in this one. Minus 130, which is kind of crazy. This actually places them, believe it or not, as the third biggest favorite in any of these series behind the Nuggets in a series we'll get to later, the Cavaliers, who are huge favorites. Interesting. All right, what's your actual question? Who's the best player in that Suns-Wolves series? Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, pretty comfortably, I think at least. Now, could Anthony Edwards have a big breakout? Because what your next question is the deciding factor of this series. Who's going to be the second best player behind Kevin Durant? Because if it's not Anthony Edwards, this series might not even be long. If the answer to that question is not Anthony Edwards, this might not even be a long series, to be honest with you. Anthony Edwards against the Suns this year, 14.3 points per game. Now, looking at like matchups over the course of a full season can be really fucking weird because there's so much context in regular season games, and teams just look so much different in December than they do now. But the Timberwolves and Suns played twice in the last 10 days of the season. So we have a pretty good idea. And in those 2 games, Anthony Edwards combined, in those 2 games, 30 points, 9 of 26 from the field. What is it? What is it about this Suns team? Because in theory, they don't have like the guard defenders that you would think could limit Anthony Edwards. But what it is they're very aggressive on ball with Anthony Edwards and doubling him. And Ant's just not at a place yet where he's very comfortable with that. And that worries me. Over the course of a 7-game series, they're going to fucking throw it at you. They're going to figure out what you don't like and what you're not good at, and that's what you're going to see for 48 minutes a night. So I have a line for y'all. I got 1.5 over under on how many times Ant complains about the refs. It's going to be after every game because that's what he does. They blitz, pick, and roll, and they gap on both sides of the primary defender so he doesn't drive. Yeah, they do a great job against him, and Ant's not comfortable with that. He rushes his decisions, plays way too passively. Don't think he's at a stage in his career yet where he's comfortable against aggressive defenses like that. And how about this? The Suns have been the 4th best team in the league this year against top 10 defenses and 3rd on offense and that includes dominating this exact matchup. KD small ball minutes. What does that do for Gobert? You have 5 lethal shooters and perimeter players. This one is Bradley Beal over the last 5 games of the season, 27 points per game on 61, 73, 100 shooting, including a 36-point game on the last day of the season for Timberwolves. Like, he's playing his best basketball at the best time of the year. There's a world that exists where the Suns have the 3 best players in the series. Like, that's not too far out there thing that could happen. I really want this series to be fun and close. And there, I do think it ultimately will. But I struggle to see how the Suns don't win this one. Both teams suck in the fourth quarter. Well, what's interesting is that the Timberwolves have actually statistically been the best offense in the league in the fourth quarter. Or top 2 or 3. I forgot. I don't know if it was number 1. I think it was number 1, though, since the All-Star break. So that's actually interesting. But in the fourth quarter, who do you trust more? I know, throw all of the fucking regular season stats out the window. In the fourth quarter, who do you trust more? The X factor for the Suns for me. I usually don't like having stars be the X factor, but I think it has to be Bradley Beal for the Suns, because if he's on one like he's been lately, man, they're just throwing so much shit at you, and it's just like, I don't know if the Timberwolves offensively could keep up. I don't know if the Timberwolves offensively can keep up. For the Timberwolves X factor, I mean, yeah, Naz Reid going to be very important in this series. Like, Mike Conley's, who's shot incredibly well from 3, is going to have to continue to do that in this series. Like, they need their offensive guys to be good. They need Anthony Edwards to play like a top 10 player. They need Mike Conley to knock down his threes. They need Jaden McDaniels to give you something offensively. And it's looked really rough at times for him. They need Cat, who really might ultimately be the X factor in the series, to be good and not have 5 fouls 13 minutes into the fucking game, and not be crying to the officials, and not have 7 turnovers. Beal's primary defender when all starters are playing has been Mike Conley. It's just a lot. The Suns just throw a lot at this Timberwolves team that I just really struggle to see them offensively keeping in it. I'm going Suns in 6, close it out at home. That's where I'm leaning. What a brutal. That would be great for the Timberwolves if they won this series. But you've been so good all season. It's like, all right, well, you get your worst possible matchup in round 1 against the Suns, and if you win that, then you go up against the Nuggets in round 2. Like, damn. Still think the Wolves win in 6. You'll look back on this prediction and regret it, in my opinion, after Minnesota's elite on defense. Here's the thing, though, is it, like, I mentioned these numbers that the Suns have the 3rd best offense in the league against top 10 defenses, which also includes being really good against this Timberwolves team. Their players are kind of just immune to good defense. Like, Booker and KD and Beal have all made their money off of just being tough shot makers. That's true. Would Finch be comfortable if Cat's not having a good series to just say, you know what, we're relying on Naz Reid, and Cat, you might get 15 minutes a game, or Jaden McDaniels offensively is struggling so badly for you, but you need his defense. But yeah, do you go Nickeil Alexander-Walker? Put Nickeil Alexander-Walker in there and then have a bunch of like perimeter defenders and Gobert. We shall see. It'll be fun. Because let's say the Suns go small and have KD be the 5. So okay, that puts your defense in a bind. Book is 0 for 9 this season when defended by Nah. Wow. Matchup data can be a little bit wonky, but Nickeil Alexander-Walker has been really good defensively this season. Like whenever I was making whenever I was making my award ballots, he was like a sneaky like second team consideration for all defense. I'm going Suns in 6. Could easily see this going 7. But the Suns are kind of peaking at the right time, and Bradley Beal's peaking at the right time. And if he plays well in this series with Book and KD, that's just a lot. And I just don't know if I'm there with the Timberwolves offensively to think that they can match that. All right, Magic versus Cavaliers. Orlando Magic. The Cavaliers are pretty heavy betting favorites in this, believe it or not. Minus 195. The Magic plus 165. So this one to me is a series that if I had to pick a series that goes 7 games, I think this would be the one. Like if you told me, all right, only one series in this first round went 7, which one is it? I think I would pick this one. I don't really know. I don't know what to make of this series because it could go so many different directions. This is very much a vibes-based thing. What are the vibes in Cleveland right now? They feel fucking bad. And they had an embarrassing showing in the postseason last year against the Knicks. And is this a scenario where, oh my God, the Magic just overwhelmed us defensively and they punched us in the mouth game 1, and now we're sulking and we just can't wait for this fucking season to be over, and Donovan Mitchell already has an apartment in Brooklyn, like. But then on the other end of the spectrum, Donovan Mitchell, who has not looked the same since he had an injection in his knee, which is what I brought up on Lockdown. And it's like, hey, Kawhi got an injection in his knee. I'm watching these Cavs games. Donovan Mitchell missed time for an injection in his knee, and he has not looked very good. Now, he did have some good performances at the tail end of the season, so maybe he's starting to feel a little bit better. But if Donovan Mitchell pops off and has a really good series, and the Cavs offense gets going, then it's like, I don't think the Magic can keep up with them scoring-wise. So if that's the direction this series goes, well, then I could see the Cavs winning it. There's just so many different directions that this one could head. It's kind of hard to predict. Last year against the Knicks, the Cavs were so bad, turned it over 15 times per game. They averaged only 94 points per game. They shot terribly. They got absolutely brutalized on the glass. And you look at it, the Magic could have the rebounding battle again, although I will say the Cavs did well in their matchups this year on the glass against this team. It's going to be a lot of pressure on the Cavaliers shooters, who they have improved in that area since last year. Like George Niang, you feel a little bit better than some of the guys you had last year. Isaac Okoro shot well from 3 this year. You have Sam Merrill, who's a flamethrower. I think Max Strus is going to be really big for them in this series too. Like just having a guy who's been in a lot of playoff battles and is not scared of the moment at all. The more I talk about this series, the more I actually think Cleveland. To be honest with you. I wrote down in my notes Magic in 7, just full disclosure. But the more I'm talking about it, the more I wonder if the Cavs are a little bit better suited offensively this year than they were last year. And it is with the Knicks. It is I'm sorry, with the Magic, it's a struggle offensively. Magic combined playoff minutes 0. No, that's not true. Joe Ingles. Was Jonathan Isaac on any of those Magic playoff teams when they were the 8 seed over and over? How long has he been in the league? And here's the thing. With Paolo, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know yet. Is Paolo going to be a playoff riser? Because I could see a world where Paolo, just the way that his game is, he comes out aggressive, attacking the rim relentlessly. We know that the Magic are incredibly aggressive when it comes to getting to the rim. And just imposes his will physically, and we're like, holy shit, Paolo, what's going on here? I could also see a world where Paolo has like a 49% true shooting percentage. And we're like, oh. The Cavs have virtually no offense from their front court. Does that not worry you? Their scores are both 6-2. Oh, that worries me greatly. It does. That's what I'm telling you. There's like a lot of different swing factors in the series where it's like, okay, well, if the Magic, which we know, they have Jalen Suggs, they have Jonathan Isaac, they have so many great defenders, where it's like, okay, I mean, Franz Wagner's a great defender too. Like, he doesn't, I don't know why I never see him mentioned in like these Magic have great defenders arguments, or at least rarely ever. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland struggled. If that's what happens, then the Cavs are going to lose this series. If it's, okay, Donovan Mitchell, playoff Donovan Mitchell, we know how good he can be. All right. I struggle to see the Magic keeping up offensively. Last year, the Knicks were content with putting a lot of ball pressure on Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell and forcing the Cavaliers shooters to hit shots, forcing their front court players to do things offensively, and they just could not do it. Does that change this year? Fuck, this one is hard. It kind of scares me a little bit that the Cavaliers are that big of favorites. I thought this would be more of a coin toss series. But not according to the good folks over in Vegas. And Jonathan Isaac, who's been starting at center for them lately, if they just unleash him in the playoffs, I'm talking like 30-plus minutes. Woo! That's a nightmare. That is a nightmare. Magic offense can look real bad sometimes. Yeah, that's scary. Because you have to score. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the game is about a bucket, and you got to score. It's great if your defense can hold the team to 95 points, but you have to get to 95 points as well. And when the Cavs are locked in, they're a good defense too. My note says 7. Do I just trust my initial? Do I trust my initial gut feeling and just stick with Magic and 7? Because the more I talk about it, the more I think the Cavs actually might do it. Jameer Nelson is going to have an elite series. Shout out to Jameer Nelson, man. Mavs legend. Part of the worst trade in Mavs history. Cavs in 6. Oh, no. All right. 5 seconds. I have to make a decision. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. I'm going Cavs in 7. At the end of the day, offensively, I don't know if I have enough trust in the Magic just yet. That's ultimately where I finish at. I don't feel great about it. It makes me sad because I would love for the Magic to win. I think it'd be awesome. But yeah. Mavs and Clippers, you're going to have to wait. I know some of you have been watching this whole video waiting, watching this whole stream waiting. You're going to have to wait until my video later today on my channel. Sorry. Not spoiling it. Mavericks are betting favorites now. So let's recap really quick. Boston versus whoever they play, Celtics in 4. Don't see either of these teams, especially with an injured Jimmy Butler, giving that much of a trouble to the Celtics. But, with how the Celtics shoot threes, there definitely could be a troll game in there. Thunder versus the Sacramento Kings. I think they take care of business in 5. Pelicans, I think, give them a little bit more trouble, but I think they ultimately win the series. So regardless of who the Thunder play, I think they win. Nuggets in 6. I think the Lakers make it more competitive of a series this time around with D'Lo not being a complete and total albatross. But the Nuggets, I think, just too much. Too much for the Lakers. Knicks and Sixers, just too worried about Embiid. If I knew Embiid was going to be good and healthy or healthy enough, I would take the Sixers in this. But I worry about those injuries. I really do. Bucks versus Pacers. I had Pacers in 6 written down in my notes. But the more I talked about the series, the more I'm a little bit concerned about Indiana. Just in a playoff setting. Because if Halliburton doesn't have a great series, so Heat in 4, Pels in 6, Lakers in 6, 76ers in 6, Pacers 7, Wolves in 6. Hey, do some research on my playoff picks. They're usually pretty good. They're usually pretty good and on point. Suns in 6 and Cavs in 7. And I want to do an NBA. I mean, you guys know I'm picking the fucking the Mavs, right? Like, come on. Where do I go to pick? What's the website everyone's using to pick the bracket? All right, never mind. We're here. All right, so I got Thunder. We'll just put 5. We'll just put. All right, I'll tip my hand a little bit. Mavericks in 5. Suns, we went in 6. Wait, do we have Suns in 6 or 7? What did we ultimately decide there? Suns in 6. Nuggets in 6. Celtics in 4. Cavs in 7. Bucks in 7. Knicks in 6. Going very chalky. Mavs in 7 over the Thunder. Suns Nuggets. We'll go Nuggets in 6. A repeat of last year. A dominant performance in Phoenix to close them out. Celtics in 5. We'll give the Cavs 1 game there. Knicks in 7. Celtics in 6. I did Mavs in 7 over OKC. So I don't want to overload the universe with delusion. That's the thing. I don't want to overload the universe with delusion. So Nuggets in 7. And I think that would be fine. Right? If someone came from the future and said, "Hey, Mavs make it to the conference finals against the Nuggets and lose in 7 on the road," I think we're all like, okay, right? Would everyone in here not collectively be like, okay, cool, cool. You don't want to overload the universe is the problem. I don't think Luka losing a game 7. You don't want to overload. You don't want to overload. Oh my god. This would be such a great series. Nuggets in 7. Sally's the guy who put all the 1 seeds in their final 4. No, I no. I kind of think that the Nuggets would pull out this series in 6. You didn't predict a single upset except Mavs? That's not true. The Pacers are betting favorites. Pacers are betting favorites. Suns over T-Wolves is an upset, but the Suns are betting favorites. Yeah, I mean, I didn't. The Thunder would be betting favorites in this series against the Mavericks. They just would be. The only world where the Thunder wouldn't be betting favorites against the Mavericks is if the Thunder really look shaky in a series, in like this series, and barely get by, and the Mavericks like sweep the Clippers or some shit, and everyone's like, oh, fuck. OKC would definitely be. Dude, they're the 1 seed. How many total points will be scored in game 1 of the NBA Finals? 127. Yes, I acknowledge. Now here's actually the dilemma with the Bucks that I'm looking at them now. Is if they do get out of the first round, and let's say, okay, now Giannis is back and he's getting closer and closer to 100%. They're like a team that gets better as the playoffs go on, but ultimately still, I think that they have like a second round ceiling, really. Wait, what did I put as the final score? Oh, shit. 227. All right, there we go. Did I not say 220? Did I say 227 and put 127? Okay, my bad. I meant 227. Let's lock in, baby. Let's lock in.